Welcome to the Raynin Threes podcast with Alan Ray and Mike O'Connell.
Hello and welcome to the latest installment of Raynin Threes. I am your host, Mike O'Connell, here with my friend and co-host, the Nova Hoops legend, Alan Ray. A-Ray and I have another special guest for you tonight, the two-time ACC Coach of the Year, former head coach of Long Beach State, USF and Virginia Tech, and now college basketball analyst at ESPN, the great Seth Greenberg. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
Any better, I couldn't stand myself sitting here at the talking ball with you guys. I mean, Alan Ray probably tried to recruit him. He gave me no time. It's just the way it is, but I still come on the pod.
That's not true, Coach. That's not true, Coach. I do remember when you was at Virginia Tech, we played you guys. And I wanted to ask you, what was the scouting report? You remember the scouting report for that game? Because I had 29.
Keep you out of the lane.
I had 29, so I don't think your team was listening.
Wait a sec. Hey, full disclosure, that was our 1 year in the Big East. Just so we get this straight now, that was the only year that Virginia Tech ever went to the Big East tournament.
That's true.
All right, that was my first year in the league. We beat Rutgers, actually, in the Big East tournament. We swept John Beeline and West Virginia. We swept Georgetown. I mean, how much do you expect out of us? We started 4 freshmen. If you weren't kicking those guys, this is who you're going to kick.
Yeah, that's true. You guys did.
Those guys were good players. My guy.
Yeah, you guys did hold it down in the Big East. I can't lie about that.
That was a fun team. That was Javon Gordon, Xavier Dowdell, Coleman Collins. All 3 of those guys were freshmen. And actually, that year was a good year before we went to the ACC. And playing, at Villanova and in that environment was really, really good for us. And playing a tough, physically, mentally tough team was really good for a other team like us. But you whooped our tails. We hung in there for a while.
Yeah,
we had a bad matchup. What can I say?
Yeah. Let me ask you, Coach. Do you think it's time now to prioritize a main basketball conference? Maybe 2-3 conferences, maybe? Like how they do in football, do you think it's time for that? Time for a basketball realignment?
That's a great question. Here's what I think. I think football needs to break off.
Mm-hmm.
I think football needs to break off, be their own entity, because that's basically what they are with the college football championship. I mean, they're their own entity. Not everyone can play at that level. Villanova plays football, but it's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. I think we can do that, and we've got to regionalize our sport a little bit more. This ridiculousness of Stanford and Cal being in the ACC with SMU doesn't make any sense to me. USC and UCLA going into the Big Ten doesn't make any sense to me. We need to. We're losing real rivalries in our game, and we've got to get back to having some semblance of a geographic footprint for colleges. You don't have to have that for football because you only play 1 game a week.
Yeah.
You know what? You fly, you play your game on Saturday, you come home Sunday, school starts Monday. You're in pretty good shape. You can go cross country. They do it all the time in non-conference games. College basketball, you're flying cross country. You're going to go 2 or 3 time zones away. You're playing 2 games. You come back. You're useless the next day. Number 1. Number 2 is what are you going to do with those non-revenue sports? You can fly them all across country, and then if you're one of those teams and you're going to California and you're going there every other week, it just doesn't make any sense. We've got to find a solution because the solution right now. And what we're doing right now is not sustainable. You could say it is, but greed has come into play. There's no doubt about it. And then with NIL, that's a factor because everyone's trying to find revenue streams. And the greatest revenue stream is, in my opinion, obviously the television contracts. Let me ask you as a player, what do you think about this? Because you were a great player. You obviously didn't get a chance to, make any money on NIL, but how about the 2 exhibition games that we're all allowed to play? How about if those 2 games go towards NIL? So basically, they're not part of the season ticket package. All right, you get an outside group that comes in and does. You play 1 home, 1 away. You split all revenue. You market it on the outside. You do some community service or some type of clinics along with a reading program, whatever it is in the community you're going to. And then you raise money from those exhibition games, and they get split after expenses amongst all of the participants, the same amount for every single player, not more for anyone else. That would make sense. What's going on now in terms of the way college basketball is divided, and we're losing all these great rivalries because everyone's trying to join conferences to make the most money from the television contract. That doesn't make sense. So let me ask, what do you think you were worth in NIL back in the day, dude?
Man, if I was getting, if they had NIL back then, I'm definitely top tier. I'm getting at least 600,000 for sure, 6, 7, maybe more. With back then, but we was a really good team, and we had a lot of attention on us and everything like that. But going back to what you said about the alignment, I mean, I think that's one of the most talked about issues now is the travel. If we was to start a league, let's just say for the Big East, for example, and let's say we had expanded that conference, how a team's going to get all the way over to the West Coast, like you said, it's not like football where you play once a week, then you have the time to rest all week. Basketball, you might have 2 games that week, so it's really difficult. And I like that idea you said about like we got to start regionalizing it.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. And it's going to help the game because we need good rivalries. We're losing rivalries. I mean, it's really real. Like how can Maryland not be playing Duke? I mean, think about the great rivalries in our game, and we're losing them. I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, you talk about UCLA and the great history of UCLA basketball. All right, the Pac-10 basically is decimated. Kids 10 years from now will not understand anything about the dominance of UCLA. John Wooden, Bill Walton, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and the history of the success that program had. Walt Hazzard in that group. So, to me, we're losing some of the history of the game. Mm-hmm. And I think when you lose the history of the game, I'm not sure that's good for the game. I'm not saying like, well, the players last that back then and the players today. It has nothing to do with that. But there are a lot of people that have built bridges for others to cross. Think about all the guys that played in the Northeast before the Big East. And then the Big East came, and all of a sudden, look what that did for college basketball. I'll tell you, Big East was incredible what it did for college basketball. Why? Because you had great rivalries. You had Villanova, St. John's, Connecticut, and Syracuse. You had a geographic footprint. You can't have a great rivalry crossing 3 time zones. I'm sorry. You can't have that across the league.
Yeah, that's right on the money, Coach. And I think you mentioned what the Big East did back in the day when they had, Carnesecca and they had Roy Massimino and all these great personalities for coaches, like all of them. Back then.
Great.
And now that with Cooley and Providence and kind of setting up a Providence-Georgetown type of rivalry, Pitino's back. You have some younger coaches that still have something to prove, but these personalities are back in the Big East. You could talk Dan Hurley from UConn as well. Do you think that what the Big East has done in terms of being just a solely premier basketball conference in the entire country, do you think that it has a chance to really become the best basketball conference in the entire country just from starting from this year?
Well, here's the thing. I don't look at that basketball. The SEC is going to be good. The Big 12 is going to be good. The Big 10 is a good conference. That's what Big English is as good as any conference in college basketball. And what makes it really good is because of the geographic footprint. Now look, they've added a Creighton, and that's a little bit of a travel. It's it's a little bit different, but it ties into Marquette, so it's not all that bad. But look, this is a conference. The Big East Conference is built on some great rivalries. It's built on tradition. It's built on great coaches. It's built on a basketball first mentality. And that basketball first mentality, what does that mean? That means all of a sudden you got great ownership. You got great passion. You got great enthusiasm. You got great competition. I still remember back in the day, it lasted about a month. When we first went into the Big East when I was at Pitt as an assistant coach, Coach Gavin had this great idea that the teams, after they played, would share a meal before the visiting team went off. I'm not sure if you remember this, Alan, but it was probably before you. It was definitely before you.
Yeah.
And that lasted about 2 weeks because the games were so intense. Guys were beating the crap out of each other. Guys did not want to say, literally the first 2 weeks, you're in a room with the guys who just were trying to beat each other's brains. And the league was really, really physical. Well, that didn't work. But having said that, the DNA of the Big East is intact. Physical, hard playing, great arenas, great ownership, great passion, terrific coaches, a toughness about the league, a lot of city guards. You know me, I love city guards.
Yeah.
Guys that can go and make plays. So I think the league is as good as any conference in the country. It's been backed up, obviously, by the number of national championships, whether it's been going over Connecticut. It's a league that top to bottom, it really doesn't have any rocking chair games. I think, you're going to see St. John's is going to be good. Now, I'm just telling you, they're going to be good. DePaul's about the only one that's kind of hasn't been able to pick themselves up. But games are games. I always say great leagues, games aren't games, they're events. And then the Big East games are events.
So, Coach, just really quick, I know you talked about how the DNA is intact and, you have these rivalries, old school type of mentality with the Big East. If you could wave a magic wand and add a team or two, would you? Or do you just like it as is right now with the 11 teams in it?
I kind of like it with the teams that are in it. I mean, could you grab a Dayton that would fit the DNA? Great fan base and great arena and, great passion. That could be okay. Could you grab a St. Louis? I'm not sure they've won enough, but they fit, again, the geographic footprint. Could you fit, if you wanted to go to another public school, a VCU that sells out every single night? Yeah, I don't know if you want to get that big. That excluding UConn, let's face it, there's a commonality amongst all the schools in the Big East. UConn being the outlier, being a state university, but they fit right now, obviously, in geographic footprint. So you can. The idea of Gonzaga joining the league, again, to me, would be great. But I mean, seriously, trips to Spokane, really?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. So I would stay in that regional. Here's my idea. Here's how crazy I am. I think the Big East and ACC should join forces and be one great league, and obviously have some basketball only. Have the basketball only. You're not going to play everyone, but you can stay within your conferences, have a certain number of crossover games, add more rivalry games, and create this unbelievable absolutely mega conference with great basketball traditions. I think if you talk about super conferences, why do super conferences? Because that's just being created. All have to just be football generated.
Right.
Look, a lot of it has to do with the money. So the basketball schools would maybe take much less of a kickback off the finances in terms of the television contract, because you can't tie them into the football television contract. But that would be finding a way to make that happen. Now that would be a monster conference that would be to add to basically the reputation of both conferences.
I'm with you on that. I am all for one big power conference. I think time is due for it, but I'm not in control of this stuff. But I'm definitely with you on that one. And since we're on the Big East right now, can you give me your predictions for this year, Big East coming up? Who are your top teams going into this year?
Yeah, Al, I'm no different than everyone else. I mean, everyone's talking about the first, top tier one guys that have separated themselves a little bit. Obviously, you got to have UConn. Even though they lost first round draft choice and Andre Jackson and Thomas Sinogo, Donovan McClellan's going to be a beast. Caravan is a monster. Tristan Neat played so good in the tournament. Cam Spencer, the transfer for Rutgers, is going to be huge. They've got legitimate depth, and although it's going to be young, and Stephen Picasso is going to be really good. Solo Ball is going to be really good. Sampson's going to be really good. So look, I mean, they've got to be in the conversation. Marquette's got to be in the conversation. Tyler Kolek is the best passer in college basketball. I mean,
I like him.
No doubt about it. Cam Jones can score. Mitchell can defend. Also, Gadar is a really tough, good, solid front court player. It's really athletic. They've got depth, but they didn't go into the portal. Creighton's got to be in the conversation with Kalkbrenner, and honestly, Trey Alexander's really, really good. Losing Nebhard hurts him some, but the Ashworth kid they got from Utah State is really good. They've got also depth in their front court. Baylor Scheidemann is a tough matchup because he plays 40, can play small. So you got those three. They've kind of separated themselves. I think that, after that, Xavier really got hurt with Jerome Hunter and Fremantle going down. They're going to be really, really young. They got an inexperienced but experienced backcourt, right? With McKnight and the kid from Rice, Oliveri, but they could be good. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be great. I don't know if they're going to be mature enough. The X factor in the room is St. John's to me. I mean, St. John's on paper, with Rick Pitino coaching them, with Joel Soriano back, with Jordan Dingle, who I think is going to be an absolute monster. You look at their roster, and then you see that, Rick Wetton got the kid, Sidney Welcher, the kid who was supposed to go to North Carolina. The New York City guard who, they have to do that. They have to keep some of those New York kids at home to play in the city. Style of play, I think, is going to be conducive. St. John's is a factor. I don't put them in the top tier. I don't put Georgetown in that top tier, even in the second tier. They're probably at the bottom of that second tier. Providence is the bottom of that second tier. I think that Kim will do a good job, but, let's face it, Kim was, I think, I'm not mistaken, one game over 500 in league play. He got the Odoro kid coming in from George Mason, who's a nice player. Obviously, the two guys, Devin Carter and Hopkins, I mean, those two guys are beasts. I mean, they went to the line 27 times a game last year, Providence. 27 times a game. I don't know if they have enough depth. I'm not sure. Again, Kim has a great luck. He worked for Tad Boyle. He worked for Rick Barnes. He was a terrific player. But if the coaching in the Big East, I mean, every single night, you're playing against a great coach, an experienced coach. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a transition period. I like Seton Hall's backcourt. I'm not sure they have enough in their front court. Alamir Dawson's very, very good. Dari Richmond is really, really good. Where's that front court going to be? So I think the league has got legitimate depth. I think the big question is going to be, there's going to be some teams emerging, and there's going to be some players emerging. Who those guys are, but I'd say 5 or 6 teams will get the dirt. At least.
So
at least.
So I didn't hear anything about Villanova.
Well,
so
I know you're going to ask me about that.
Yeah. So I gotta.
I didn't say Villanova because I know that's a category in itself.
That's right.
So you want to get to Villanova now?
Yeah, we got.
I wasn't going to loop Villanova in the rest of it. So I'm going to ask you a question.
All right.
Right?
Let's do it.
When I think about Villanova, I think about attitude. I think about culture. I think about identity. Can you establish that identity, bringing this many guys that were in other programs that really don't understand? Because the great thing about Villanova is, and I know you know this, Coach, right? I always talked about it. You play for those who played before you. Can those guys in a short period of time, and it has nothing to do with coaching, it has to just do with roster management. There was always guys that kind of paid their dues, learned what it was to be a Villanova basketball player, learned what you did, how you did it, why you did it, were invested in it. Can those guys get invested in it in 1 year, or is that just unrealistic in the culture of college basketball today? There you go.
This is a question that I get a lot. I get this a lot, and this is my answer. I feel like with the experience that Villanova has gotten out of the portal, that it will help a lot with these guys gelling and getting on track with each other for this year. But you are absolutely right about Villanova. We have a culture, and with this changing landscape of college basketball, it's getting harder and harder to keep that culture. So, we have to, I say nowadays as a coach, or if you're ahead of a program, like you got to just roll with the punches, because you never know what's going to happen with the transfer portal, with guys being able to leave anytime they want. So I feel like now it's in a point where you have to roll with the punches. And I feel like Villanova rolled with the punches this year. We didn't have a great year last year, had a terrible year last year.
Injuries.
Injuries. you could say it's injuries, but it's definitely part of the game. And, we couldn't really recover from that. But what I do like what Villanova did this year is they adapted. They went in the portal and they filled all the holes that they needed, guys that are leaving. So we filled those holes. But now moving forward, the next question is, and I had this question for you later on in the show, but I'm just going to just get into it now. And I feel like with us having the year that we had last year and losing Coach Wright, it kind of took a hit on our culture because we haven't gotten any recruits for 2024 commitments coming in. So, like you said, we got to be able to establish our culture, but it's very difficult now in a time like this. I feel like we've done a good job for this year, but it's not finished yet. We still got to look at what's going to happen next year after this season.
Yeah, I think the hard thing, Alan, is this. Those recruits coming in right now, they're looking and saying, well, they struggled a little bit last year. I do think, look, it was a tough hand to be dealt. You're talking about, obviously, Justin goes down, Littlemore goes down, new coaching staff, pressure that goes along now with being at Villanova. Big difference between being at Fordham and being at Villanova in terms of just the day-to-day, not the basketball, just, the commitment that you have to make day-to-day at Villanova and what it stands for. Is that possible today in the transfer portal, NIL, quick fix mentality college basketball?
Coach, whether people want to agree or not, NCAA is getting into semi-pro territory, and it's becoming a business. And like you said, I remember when I was coming up, growing up, when picking my school, I chose it based on like the relationships I had with Coach Wright, with Coach Jones, with the guys who recruited me. We built that relationship. And I wasn't coming in expecting money. I was coming in, I wanted to win. There was no social media. I wasn't trying to be famous. Like, I just wanted to play basketball. I wanted to win. Now, you got guys who coming in for the money. You got guys who want the fame. And it's hard to separate and find the players who actually are playing because they love the game. And those are the players that you want to build your team around. Like, and it's going to be hard to find that nowadays. So I feel like it's still in the premature stages of trying to figure this out and how to navigate this whole new landscape with basketball. And like I said I feel like it's semi-pro, and I like the moves that some of these teams are making by getting GMs. And I think with the GM position or whoever controls this position, this is how I feel you could be successful, is you got to have somebody who's on top of all the business that goes on with the school now. It's too much for the coaches, too much for the assistant coaches to just handle. They need to focus on basketball, getting the team right. Now you got a GM or somebody in that position who's already ahead of everything. Like, let's just say, for example, you have a star player, he's leaving next year, right? So you have to account for him in the beginning of the season. I got to account for him. I know he's demanding a certain amount of money, and am I going into the portal after the season, or am I going to try to get me a high-level recruit? So I know the high-level recruit is going to demand a certain amount of money, and I know if I go to the portal to replace this player, he's going to demand a certain amount of money. So I got to make sure I raise up enough money to be able to cover that aspect of my best player leaving. Then you got a situation, let's say this happens all the time. A player steps up and he starts playing good, has an unbelievable season. Now he's looking to get more money. Now as a GM, I got to understand that too. I got to have something in place for a situation like that. If a kid just has an expectedly good year, do I want to keep him? How much do I need to keep him? Or can I replace him in a portal? Or can I replace him with recruiting? So I feel like you need somebody in your office handling those situations, staying on top of it. And that's how you can keep your school in a winning, like, just having a winning tradition going forward based on how everything is going now.
Here's the thing. You explained all that stuff, and I agree with you. I think we need contracts. I think we need 2-year contracts. That way we don't have guys going all over the place. But here's the thing. You mentioned all that stuff. That's great. And the money, the guy plays well, and this, that. And, that's basically, Baker Dunleavy. That's, one of his jobs. A lot of schools do that. Here's the one thing, the one thing we lost track of? Like, do these dudes want to make money and they want to win? I mean, like, where's winning in a thing? Like, what's the guy willing to do? And, like, there's the guy going, well, if I get off and I get 20 a game, but we lose, that's okay because I get my money. Or, maybe my role is just to check people, rebound the ball, be a ball mover, make sure it doesn't get stuck. Or maybe my job, is to be a great screener. When people help, I can slip or post. Or maybe my job is to play off penetration, all right, and go off some penetration so I get to the offensive glass. No one wants that because some of those guys say, hell, I'm not going to make the big money. So what the hell? Why would I want to do that? I want to be the dude. So I'm not going to make it. So let me ask you this. How do you balance your locker room? You're a player right now. You're playing. All right? And, you were recruiting that is a big-time player. And, like, 4 guys next to you are making, I'll just pick a number, 400,000. You're only making 100 because, you're the 6th man. You're coming off the bench. How's that relationship with the dudes making 400?
For college students, it's difficult, For a professional, obviously, that comes with the sport. But a college student, that's difficult. But I think that comes with the locker room and who your leaders are in that locker room. Yeah, because that can't come from the coach. The coach can only do so much when it comes to that. It's who's in that locker room, who's your leaders, who's controlling all of that. Everybody needs to be focused on the big picture. You know what I'm saying? And if you getting more money than someone else, it's not personal, it's business. But we still need you to come out here and handle what you handle. Because if you don't, like, you put yourself in a bad position going forward.
Talk about locker room. I've always said, Alan, that you're only as good as your locker room. And that's the great thing about Villanova, which I've always thought about Villanova, is that, like, let's face it, think about, like, it's kind of been handed down. Arch, Jalen, there's always been the next guy, yourself. But you think about, who the guards before you?
Gary Buchanan, Derek Snowden,
who are the guards after you?
Corey Fisher, Corey Stokes, those
Who are the guards after that?
Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. Scotty Reynolds was after me, but then, those guys, they just, like you said, it's.
And you guys hold each other accountable.
Yeah, we definitely did, and especially in the locker room. If somebody wasn't doing what they supposed to be doing, we would say something. And it's better hearing it from the players instead of hearing from the coach. You hear from the coach all the time, but when you hear from your teammate, it sinks in a little bit more. You feel like you're letting them down, and that next time you step out on the court, you wanna make it right.
Yeah, player-led teams are better than coach-led teams.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Really as good as in locker room. And I mean, and again, I think that if we ever went to contracts, and there's a lot to the contract things, but if we ever went to contract, we went to 2-year contract, we control the transfer portal, and then all of a sudden that's out of the way. Real NIL will be a factor. So in other words, you get what you earn. Like, because this is not an NIL.
Yeah.
You can call it NIL if you want to. That's great. You can fool yourself. This is pay for play.
Yeah.
All right. So don't give me the NIL stuff. I mean, very few people make NIL.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like if you're at Kentucky or, the best player at Villanova, or if you're at North Carolina, or, you're in a college town. But, there are people who make NIL. I mean, like, Johnny Manziel would have made NIL. The guy at USC, Caleb Williams, he's making NIL. But, like, everyone can't be an influencer. You're an influencer. It's like Oprah. You're an influencer. Really. And the truth is, being an influencer. So, really, what it is, let's call it what it is. Let's stop BSing and call it what it is. All right? It's pay for play. Let's stop fooling ourselves. That's fine. I got no problem with it. but we've got to find some rules, some regulations, because people are tampering with other people's players, and it's getting to the point it will not be sustainable. The other thing is, and I do think there's a mental argument, everyone's time out an IL pay for play deal. And he thinks that just, well, I'm going to be a pro. Everyone thinks it's going to be a pro. Everyone thinks it's going to play the NBA. Everything, it's a rite of passage. Since AAU, you're going to play the NBA. He used to be first round. Every guy that puts his name in for the draft thinks they're going to get drafted. Last time I checked, only 60 guys got drafted and only 40 Americans. Everyone doesn't get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's the deal. So that guy's making $400 a year. That's a lot of money. After taxes, it's probably, $275,000 or $300,000. He's not an NBA player. He's not even a two-way guy. He's making $400,000. It's pretty good. He goes over to Europe. He's making $75,000. And if he doesn't play well, he's getting sent home. And no one's kissing his ass. And if he's 5 minutes late to something, if he doesn't treat people the right way, he's getting sent home. What's the mental? We always talk about mental health. What's the mental health aspect of that?
Yeah.
Because that's real.
That is a big reality, what you just said, because a lot of these guys in college are making more money than some of the rookies that's playing in Europe right now. And they get out of college, they don't make it to the NBA, and they go to Europe, and their contract is less than what they was making in college. Like what you said, your mental health.
And they're not flying on charters. They're not staying at Ritz-Carltons. They're not going to Borton's. They're not getting their meals sitting in there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I've sat in those meals with Coach Wright that you guys brought in. And I mean, it's a different world. And that's just something, again, it's something I don't think a lot of people think about. And then the last thing is, when you will know how education and graduation report.
Yeah.
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you hear anyone ever talk about education or graduation anymore?
No. That's a good point. I don't hear that at all. But we looking at NIL numbers or pay for play numbers, like you say.
Right? I mean, and yet, in the end, that's the one thing no one can take away from you.
Yeah.
You can get hurt, take away your game. You might not be good enough to play in the league. You might not fit to play overseas because not everyone can fit. But I speak to guys. You used to have a guy on campus. He'd meet the president. He'd meet the academic coordinator. He'd meet the dean of the school that he might be majoring in. He'd go to a class. I ask guys to go, hey, parents don't want to hear that. They want to hear one thing.
How much?
And so we're losing our way. And people say, oh, he's old. No, I'm not old school. I can coach. Let me tell you something. I could right now go out, coach. I could raise myself $500,000 to $1 million, pay everyone the same thing, say, all right, everyone's make the same thing. Now I'm going to coach your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have no problem. I'd have no problem. But here's the deal. For that, you're going to class every day. You're going to study all right? And you're going to be a student because you're going to walk out of here with a chance to have a life. And by the way, the other thing we're going to teach you is how to develop relationships. We're going to make sure you find a mentor so that when you leave here and your basketball career is over, someone will invest in you asking nothing else in return. Nothing else in return but helping build a bridge for you to cross to be successful the rest of your life. Because that's really what's important.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Coach. This NIL and this transfer portal has to get regulated soon. Because without it, it's just the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, it is. Not World Wide West, but the Wild Wild West.
Coach, you just got me fired up there with your entire coaching strategy, and I absolutely agree with you in terms of being able to do that and kind of take the bull by the horns and be like, listen, this is how it's going to go. Everyone's going to get paid the same amount, and maybe I hope some coaches out there can hear that and maybe put it into practice at their own program because. You think about guys like, the 4 transfers that Villanova did get, right? They were like, okay, how can we go out and get Villanova type guys to fit in this program and make it a seamless transition? And hey, that's where everybody's looking though. Everyone is looking for Villanova type guys who care about winning. Obviously, they got paid. We don't want to get into specific numbers, but they all got a good chunk of change. And now it's like, okay, you're being asked to completely change your mindset from a Washington State, from a Maryland, from a Kentucky for Lance Ware, and
Love my man Lance
Richmond
Ware.
for Bird. But these kids are legit, and they're just character guys. They're they're not ego guys. They're not me first. It's team first. And I think that Coach Neptune and the entire staff realized that and was like, all right, we're going to go ahead and go all in and take a chance on these guys. So I totally agree with what you're saying about like, is that you're asking a lot for them to learn the Villanova culture like that. And I think that they are like almost like the guinea pigs for if Villanova's culture is going to be able to last through what the NIL transfer portal mentality has completely, topsy-turvy, twisted up the college basketball landscape on his head. And I mean, obviously, Alan and I, we talked about this over the last few months. We have faith in these guys, but just if you really think about it, like this is like an experiment, and if
it can be done now. It's being done in football. People think it's crazy. I'm going to throw you something really crazy. You know where it's being done in football?
Colorado.
And
let's get into it
because that dude's not afraid to coach his team.
Right.
See, like everyone gets, Coach Prime and the glasses and the hat and all that. Let me tell you something. That's great because he's unique in who he is. But that dude's an old school coach.
Mm-hmm.
What does he talk about? He created a vision, set a standard, holds guys to the standard, coaches his guys hard. See, I think too many times we got guys afraid to coach their teams because they're worried about the portal. If a guy doesn't want to allow you to coach him hard, then A, number one, you don't have a relationship with him. And B, he can't help you win because he can't help you win if he doesn't get better. I look at this Colorado thing, and I get a kick out of everyone losing their minds about it. Hey, that guy coaches his team. He has a vision. He's created an energy and a passion and an ownership. He's recruited guys that have bought in to each other and their roles and winning. You can tell, and Al, you know this, man. Like, you win the games you're supposed to win with talent.
Mm-hmm.
To win the games you need to win, you got to be playing for your teammates. You got to be playing for your head coach.
Yeah, for sure. That way you ensure everybody has his back.
Football. And that's what I see in Colorado football. So the last part of my thing that I said what I would do is I coach my guys every day, every single day. And I'd hold them accountable to school and being a good every single day. And I think we need more of that. And then their guys said, look, Tom Izzo does it. John Calipari does it. People don't understand how hard he coaches those guys. All right? Coach Wright did it every single day with you guys.
Yeah.
And just coach your team, man. Coach your team.
It's hard nowadays with this younger generation. They can't handle that, They can't handle that tough talk. They can't handle that criticism. And a lot of kids break down now. They couldn't last.
Criticism.
Yeah.
But you know what? Here's the deal. You recruit them and say, I'm going to coach you hard, and I'm going to love you just as hard, and we're going to be in this thing together, but I'm not going to enable you.
Mm-hmm.
Then, again, we got a little bit off, but I think that's the essence of coaching. There are certain things that are the essence of coaching. The essence of coaching is putting together a system that fits your personnel, putting guys in position to play to their strengths. All right. And then making sure that your team is the hardest playing, toughest team. And then making sure that you put those guys in position not only to help win you games, but help to be successful in life.
Yeah.
That to me is the essence of coaching. That's what Coach Wright did with you guys. I'm sure that's what Coach Neptune is trying to do. That's what good coaches do.
Yeah, definitely. And Coach Wright was definitely like that. Real tough on the court, but off the court was like a father figure to all of us. And, we understood. Coming in as freshmen, we didn't understand, but he did a great job of getting us to understand that he's pushing us this hard because he wants us to be good and he knows the type of potential we have, not because he don't like us. We're inner city kids. I'm an inner city kid. I come from the Bronx. Like, if anybody talk to me crazy, I'm ready to turn up. You know what I'm saying? But I had to understand Coach Wright is not he's doing this because he sees the potential in me and he sees how good I can be as long as with the team as well. So he did a good job of putting that into our minds and understanding like he's doing this because we're gonna be a good team.
Yeah,
And, like this gonna help us be good.
that's what it's all about, man. To me, that's what it's all about. And then, when you're done playing, I think it's important that coaches are there for their players. Which that's, I think, a great thing about Villanova. I mean, like, just Villanova in general has got a great, feel to it, I guess is the word. Just the people. There's a great sense of community at that place, which is, it's big enough, but it's small enough, a bit in terms of campus. So I think there are a lot of good things. I think they're going to be good this year. I really do. I think they're going to be good this year. And I think my man Georgie's going to have a good year.
Oh yeah, Big George. I agree. I think Nova's going to be good. I think they're going to play well together. I'm happy that they got a lot of experience coming in, along with some of the guys that was already there. Justin Moore, Eric Dixon. I'm looking forward to that tandem this year. Like you said, Mark Armstrong, one of my other faves. I'm ready for him to make that leap. Jordan Longino is going to be back, healthy, playing. I'm really excited for these guys this year, and I think they're going to finish top in the Big East, top 4.
All right, I like it.
Yeah, Coach. I think if you talk about Marquette, UConn, Creighton, that is the class of the Big East right now. Then you say second tier, St. John's. I don't know about Xavier.
I don't know over the second tier. Relax.
But
I held them aside because I knew you guys wanted to talk about. I mean, the show was your guys' show. I mean, I understand. But that's one way to go to the whole team.
Oh,
listen, I like talking basketball. Villanova basketball, but it's fun talking to you right now too. Just getting to hear you talk about back in the days and getting inside your head as a coach, because I always thought about that, always wondered. I love talking to coaches and just seeing their mind and how they thought. So I'm happy with what we talking about.
Yeah. You guys need anything else from me?
Yeah, Coach, just wanted to ask one last thing. You beat 4 number 1 ranked teams as a head coach, whether it be at Long Beach State, USF, Virginia Tech. But what was your favorite memory of beating those 4 teams?
First of all 4 were on the road. How crazy is that?
That's nuts.
Damn.
Dean Dome, Cameron,
The Fog,
and then Joel Coliseum. Where it's far. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't love them all because you guys know. I mean, when you get a chance to show that type of experience with your team that invested so much in it and seeing the real difference. So the Kansas, when at Kansas, we lost the game before. We flew from West Coast to the East Coast, played Richmond on a Saturday noontime game. We played a Thursday night game. We were supposed to fly right after that game on a red eye. It got canceled. We ended up landing Saturday at like 9:00. Played the game against BCU. They beat us by 100. We got on a plane. We flew to Lawrence. They were number 1 in the country. We practiced their asses off. And I mean, we come out, we kicked their tails. I mean, we never trailed in the game. We beat them by 16. So that was cool that our team responded. You always want to see how your teams will respond. So that was fun. The Duke game was a game where the year before we lost on a half-court shot. I don't know if you guys remember that. We led the game. There was 1.1 seconds left. They made it 1.6 seconds left. That just happens to do. It's one of those things. and they threw a shot at from half court. We lose. So that was great because it was a payback.
Right.
And again,
Totally.
North Carolina about 2 weeks later, we beat Duke in overtime that game. We then played North Carolina in a big time game. Xavier Nadal, Jamon Gordon, 80 decided those guys. Great game. And Xavier, I think, had 33 against them. And we beat them in overtime. They ended up going to the Final Four. And then we whooped the crap out of Wake Forest. We really played well that night. So like, things I remember being in the locker room with those guys after those wins. There are things in the game I remember certain decisions we made, but I like the Duke one probably had more significance in that the year before I could see the hurt in our guys' faces because we had Duke beat. Our first year in the ACC, we beat Duke with J.J. Redick. And then the next year, we had them beat, and they threw a shot in. And it was just, it's a hard thing to, looking to your guys, knowing how hard they played, how much you invested in it.
Mm-hmm.
So overall special. I was fortunate to coach some great dudes. I had good players, whether it was Devell or Gordon or Malcolm Delaney or way back in the day. I had my guys at Pitt, Clyde Vaughn and George Allen and Andre Williams and Long Beach State had Brian Russell, Lucius Harris, and I had really good players, really good guys, and that's what you miss when you're not coaching. Like I love what I do, and I'm very fortunate to do it, but I don't impact anyone's life. Maybe gamblers, but those guys are my guys. Rasul Salahuddin way back in the days, a Birdie guy, but I've been really, really fortunate. I've been fortunate to do what I do and now to do what I can do now, even though it's different. I work with people, whether it's our producers, our directors, our research people. I'm part of a really good team because when you do what I'm doing now, all they want you to do is have a good show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking ball. Like Al, I'm like you. You want to talk ball? I can talk ball all night.
Yeah.
The people behind it make what we do so special because we have amazing people behind us and helping us do what we do on television.
Yeah, good, Coach. Just an absolute pleasure to have you on. It's been a great conversation. You and Alan were really guys. You guys went next level there a couple of times, and I was just sat back and enjoyed the show because that was incredible. So, Coach, thanks so much.
Always a lot of respect for you guys, and Alan's one of my. He played the game the right way. He was competitive as all hell, and I've always been a fan. And Coach Raynin, like I say, is. I got somebody. He looked after my girl Jackie G when she was at Villanova, as only Coach Wright can do, checking in with her. Great feelings for Villanova and everything it stands for.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for the good words.
You got it, man. Stay well. If I can help, let me know.
Seth Greenberg, everyone. Hey, Ray. That was intense there. He was really getting into it, talking NIL, pay for play type of stuff. We got our Big East predictions from him as well. He likes chalk, right? But
yeah,
he's definitely gives Nova a chance to be in that second tier and possibly move up if everything goes according to plan with the transfers and everything. So some great conversation. Really appreciate Coach Seth Greenberg jumping on the program with us. Always a pleasure to have guests on Raynin Threes, and our first analyst, Ray, and I would say he analyzed the crap out of the entire college basketball landscape there, man.
No, he definitely did. It was great having him on there and getting to hear his thoughts when he was talking about the Big East. And after he finished, I'm like, hold on. I didn't hear Villanova. Like I had to go back to that, but he basically said, he thinks Villanova will be good this year. And he did that on purpose for all you people out there who can't catch a joke. He believes, he thinks Nova's going to be pretty good, all right? So, but he touched on the one thing that everybody always touch on, which I guess right now is just the main concern with Villanova is can they gel and can they mesh and can they fit together? And I'm going to stand by with what I said and what CG said, what Mano said about that experience is going to come in and help a lot with that transition.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail right on the head. And I agree with what Coach said about how hard it is to achieve that Villanova culture, that mindset, that winning attitude that you have to have
Trumps
in terms of being
everything.
successful. It does. And I think it was almost like he was throwing some serious respect on what Coach Wright, what you guys built there, like in the last 20 years. And I think it's pretty cool to have him say, like, listen, you can't just like kind of flip the switch and expect it to happen in 1 year. So I really think that he's saying, like, listen, like it's not easy. It's a hard thing to really achieve and get to. It takes time. You have to sit behind the guys in front of you and watch them, set the example and lead and show you how to win and build that mindset and grow. You have to grow as a person, not just a player, as a teammate, as a student. I really think that was he put it in a perfect light in terms of how difficult it is to really achieve that. And I think it's like he's almost like Coach was like, okay, guys, like I know you guys did well in the portal, but it's not easy for these kids to come from Washington State, Maryland, Richmond, and even Kentucky for Lance to just be able to jump right into the Villanova mindset and be able to be on the same page as everyone else. And I think it was cool to hear that. It was also a reminder of the issue that everyone likes to bring up and likes to ask you, Ray, all the time. Can they gel? And you see, I completely agree with you. I'm going to listen to what Colin and Mano said on Raynin threes, right? Yeah. I think what they said is not, I don't think they're just pumping this team up for no reason. If they really believed that they couldn't do it, I think they would tell us straight up. I think they'd be like, I don't know, it's going to be really hard for them to do it. Like, we'll see kind of thing. Versus them actually seeing it in person when they were at the Davis Center, practicing with these guys, watching them scrimmage, whatever it may be, when they're going to Summer League. And now hearing what Seth Greenberg had to say, I mean, it's like Villanova, the mindset, the culture, the attitude is, held to the highest of standards. And it is certainly not an easy thing to accomplish, but I am right there with you, Ray. I am sticking to our word, to all of our hopes and dreams of the fact that these 3-4 transfers, Lance might be a little bit less of a role in terms of like coming off the bench and helping us out there. But in terms of TJ, Tyler, and Hakeem, I believe that they're bought in. I believe that they're gelling with the rest of the guys, with Justin, Eric, Mark, Brendan. I believe in it, and I think that they did pick the right type of guys that aren't ego guys, as Colin said, and are team first, not me first.
Yeah. You already know how I feel. I just feel like keeping the culture. I think we could do a good job of keeping the culture. I don't think the Villanova culture is going to go anywhere, but some systems got to change because obviously college basketball is changing. So some systems got to change. Like, for instance, like with recruiting, you got to go about it a different way as opposed to how you was going about it a few years ago before pay for play came about. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only thing for me that I just want to see Villanova create or kind of put a stamp on, like creating this new system in this new college basketball era that we're in, because it has to be done. I feel like the coach is going to be there. Everybody knows when you talk to a coach coming to Villanova, you getting recruited by them. Everybody knows the coach. We're telling you straight off the jump, you got to play with heart, attitude, all of the basics. If you're not bought into that, then you need to find another school. So that culture, I think, will remain the same. Just got to change up different systems when it comes to this new college basketball and wherever its direction it's going to go in the next few years or whatever the case may be.
That's right. And Alan, you mentioned it before when we were talking with Coach. The mentality, the mental health aspect of things is huge, but also like the just the mentality of the younger generation. And don't get me wrong, I think me and our guy behind the glass, Slick Nick, we're in that younger generation. But I think we're kind of like more so on the cusp. Versus like, my like younger brother who's like still in college, whatever, he's still like a teenager. Where like, a lot of people that age are are maybe, you know, more concerned with social media and having those followers, and that those are the kids that are being recruited now to play college basketball, not just college basketball, but college sports in general. It's like, you know, they want to get their bread. They want to, you know, post about all of their NIL deals with the different brands on their socials. They want to, and they don't want to hear from any authority figure about what they're doing is wrong. It's all about, you know, what can I do to make myself a brand? What can I do to make myself stand out and get that paper? Because, I mean, that's what it comes down to. And, you know, who knows? Coach said it, you said it, everyone knows it. Not many players go from college to the NBA. Like, you know, sometimes you get lucky and you're able to catch on in Europe, play in some other leagues, make your money that way and have a successful year like you did. You obviously had a touch of the NBA as well when you played with Boston. You're like, I'm going to get paid more in Europe. I'm going to go do my thing over there and absolutely kill it, and which is what you did. But it's not going to happen for everybody. And I feel like people are almost like, I need to cash in now. When the opportunity arises, I need to make my bread and make my imprint and build a following and this, that, the other thing. And I think that's, I wouldn't say it's a wrong mentality to have for what the younger generation has, but they can't be as, you know, soft or like, you know, sensitive to what a good coach or a program is asking for. And what they're asking for is not to put yourself first all the time. You got to put the team first, and you got to care about winning, not just yourself, making money, you know, building a brand, getting your followers up, that kind of thing. No. You came here to play on a team, and that team's goal is to win games, you know, cut down nets and hang banners. That is the goal. That's what should be the goal. It always has been the goal. With the NIL, the paper play, it's changing things up and it's turning it on its head.
Yeah, it definitely is. But unfortunately, we got to figure out a way of like how we're going to navigate it and become successful just like we did in the last era of college basketball. But it was definitely great having Seth Greenberg on here today. That was big time. He's a well-known analyst. Everybody knows him. Obviously, we played against him my sophomore year.
Right.
Yeah, we played against him, so pretty familiar with him. Overall, I think it was great. Great talk. Learned a lot, got to hear what he had to say. Very interesting things he got to say about college basketball and NIL, and hopefully I get to pick his brain a little bit more in the future about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Ray. Would love to have Coach back on the program once again, and I think just based on how great it went tonight, I don't see why he wouldn't want to come back on with us. So it was an absolute pleasure, and shout out to Coach Seth Greenberg. I loved how he gave credit to all of the guys behind the scenes putting in their work at ESPN as well. I thought that was really cool, and it shows how great of a guy Coach is, and I think a great reason as to why he and Coach Wright get along so well.
Yeah, but you told me you don't like ESPN because they don't play our games.
That's right. I actually did want to bring up to him because the Big East contract with Fox is running out, Ray. We only got 2 more seasons. So I did mean to ask that to Coach. Well, I guess I'll have to reach back out and see what he says about that, because I don't see why ESPN wouldn't want to get the Big East back in the fold if they're going to be the one of the premier college basketball conferences. You know, why wouldn't you want the Big East back? You know,
I think people are getting tired of that Fox Sports app, to be honest with you, because I know I am.
Yeah, it's not great. I'll be the first to say that as well. It is constantly causing me problems whenever I try to watch games, you know, stream games, whatever it is, mobily or just on my laptop, or I'm hooking it up on my Xbox, on my smart TV, any possible way you try to watch it on the Fox Sports app, it's going to give you problems. I mean, that's what it is.
It is. Hopefully we get that ESPN deal. Get back to them days.
Well, hey man, that was back when you were playing. You guys were all over ESPN. I mean,
for sure.
That was the life. That was the life. As a kid watching you guys, it was the easiest thing ever just to throw on ESPN, because you guys were always on.
Exactly.
So,
and I don't got nothing to show for it now. No NIL, no nothing. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, how about we make a game, NCAA March Madness, bring that game back out. I used to
Love
play
that.
it. I used to play that all the time. You know, to bring it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, we should play each other in that. That'd be fun, man. I'll give you that work, bro, because I used to play that like religiously.
Now you can't play two Villanova teams versus the Villanova team. You got to pick somebody else.
We have to be you
Or I could play
reserve
with
the
my
right?
school, or I could play with my class, and you could play with another class.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be.
If we could somehow do that. I mean, that would be
Yeah.
unbelievable, but
They got to make that game again. I would definitely do that.
yeah, I mean, the last game, I think it was 2010, and that was with was that with Kevin Love on the cover,
Mm,
or
I
maybe that
can't
was
remember.
Blake Griffin, and then KD was on it. So it was Blake Griffin in 2010,
I remember the KD.
Kevin Love 09, and then 2008 was KD with
I remember that
Texas.
one.
So maybe I don't know. We got to figure out how we're gonna do that, Ray. I got a couple of those discs. I got to see if they still work. But yeah, we got to make that happen.
All right. Yeah, we definitely do. EA Sports got to make it happen too.
Yeah.
We need a newer version where they got the 84 team.
Yeah, they got the classic teams.
Yeah. We ain't winning national championship, but you got to put us in there. You got to put our 06 team in there. Thank you.
Nah, that's got to be a lock with you, Kyle, Randy, Mike. That team is too good to leave off the classic list of Nova teams. So
Yeah.
we'll write a letter to EA. Hopefully some EA guys listen to Raynin Threes. We'll see. But hey, Ray, I know who is listening to Raynin Threes right now. Shout out to my guy David Clark and the rest of his boys, his Army boys down in Fort Cavazos, Texas. They are big-time supporters of the podcast, and I know for a fact once the merch gets delivered, I'm still waiting on all these hats and polos and shirts to get delivered. Hey, Ray, I gotta look at one today, just in terms of a picture from the guy I'm making a deal with to get ourselves this merch. You're gonna like this, man. I'm telling you, you are gonna.
I can't wait
because the hat is great.
I love that.
I gotta send down a box of T-shirts and hats and polos to those boys down in Fort Cavazos, because you just gotta love hearing the support from all corners of the country, Ray, especially our countrymen in the Army. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's definitely big. Just hearing that people even listening to the podcast is big. Going into something like this, that's one thing you always worry about. Is anybody going to listen? Anybody going to pay attention? So it's good to hear that kind of feedback, hear that people's listening to it, going on YouTube, seeing the views and things like that. It's great. And I also want to say thank you to you and Nick. Man, you guys do a lot behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. So I just definitely want to thank you guys for like making this happen too.
Yes, sir, man. I mean, the pleasure is ours. It was. I remember you put out a tweet, hey Ray. You're like, I've been looking at some offers, some people reaching out doing podcasts, and I was talking with my roommates in our group chat, and I was like, I gotta at least shoot a Ray a DM or something, see what's what. And we jumped on the phone, man, and the rest is history. So really, I could not be happier about where we are right now. Just a few months into this Raynin Threes podcast, it's been an absolute blast. And I think it's only up from here, my friend.
For sure. And like I always say, just gotta keep on building from here and just keep going up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And shout out to our guy, Slick Nick behind the scenes. Like you said, he does a lot for us, and he actually just got a new job working for a little crime and law production company. So he's dialed in there. He was looking at the YNW Melly trial today. His first day of work was Monday, so he's been dialed in for us. And it's gonna be great to hear his Law and Order takes, because I know we're certainly gonna get big into that. Maybe we'll have a Raynin Threes segment just dedicated to crime and criminology.
Man, listen, Mike Nardi was my roommate in college.
Yeah.
And all I heard was ding ding, ding ding. Every time I walk past his room, ding ding, watching Law and Order all the time. So now all of a sudden, I don't know, the last few months, like my wife watches this now.
Right.
Like all I hear now in the house is doom doom.
Getting like flashbacks.
Yeah, it just reminds me of Mike Nardi. I'm like, babe, this is reminding me of Mike Nardi. She's like, why are you thinking about Mike?
PTSD from the Law and Order.
Yeah, it's not like how you think. Just he used to watch this all the time. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's like my dad watching X-Files all the time. I feel like that was like imprinted on my brain when I was a child. Now I have this like obsession with like aliens, dude. It's not great. It's not healthy.
My mom's watched that X-Files all the time.
It's creepy, man.
I used to watch that all the time.
Oh yeah, no, there's some creepy episodes in there, man. That's no joke.
Yeah.
But hey, always a pleasure. Hey Ray, we're gonna have to do it again soon. I think I am going to see you next week for the golf outing.
Yeah.
For Randy's golf. I mean, that would be phenomenal. I got to make that happen. Are you still flying up for that?
Yeah. As things look right now, I'm still gonna be going there. But you know,
Awesome.
I'll let you know.
Well, yeah, you got a busy schedule, man. You're always things are happening around you, man. So just hopefully it works out. We'll see. But yeah, man, really looking forward to hopefully making that happen. And what a great episode this was. Shout out to Seth Greenberg from ESPN, the former head coach, Virginia Tech, South Florida, and Long Beach State. Really came on here and is spitting some straight knowledge about the Big East, about NIL, the college basketball landscape. It was just a tremendous episode, and we hopefully all of you guys out there enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yes, definitely. Hope you guys enjoyed this. It was a great episode. Got a lot of knowledge from Seth Greenberg, and it was good catching up with him, seeing him again. The last time I talked to him was probably before that game, so it was just good getting to talk to him and like seeing him on TV and everything. We just had a ESPN analyst on here on this show, so I'm going to sleep happy.
Oh yeah, come on, and more to come, Ray. You gotta love having these guests on. Jermaine, Colin, and now Coach Greenberg. They've all done an awesome job, and really just thankful that they were able to take the time out for us. You know what I mean?
For sure. Thanks for coming on the show. And Nova Nation, you got another one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. With Alan Ray, I'm your host, Mike O'Connell. Thank you guys all so much for listening to Raynin Threes. We'll catch you guys next time.
Peace out.